budget will be spent on obesity-related illnesses. But the NHS is now facing a financial crisis, and there are fears that many obese patients who have tried slimming and failed will not get the funding they need. On Fat Doctor, 3 people who had been given only a few years to live, 30-year-old Albert Kempster tips the scales at 40 stone. He just can't say no to food.
It's addictive. And I know you can't explain to people who ain't addicted to food. It's like trying to tell a smoker or no, don't smoke. If you don't do it, you don't understand it, do you?
The clock has been ticking for Amanda Beer. Hauling her 40-stone body around was impossible.
My weight is a real burden. No one knows what it's like to be like that unless you're this size.
And 30-year-old Kim Streak needed to lose half her body weight.
It's either life or death. And I chose life, and so I chose the bypass.
Expect graphic scenes of gastric bypass surgery on Fat Doctor. One in 10 of the world's population is now obese. Experts say it's a bigger problem than malnutrition. In some countries in the developed world, obesity is now the norm. For many who have spent years trying and failing with diets, surgery is the only way out. All around the country, bariatric units have been set up to deal with the problem. One of the busiest units is St Richard's Hospital in Chichester. It was set up by surgeon Shaw Summers with a team of surgeons and other specialists. They are in the front line of Britain's obesity epidemic.
I think the phrase "a war on obesity" is probably appropriate, and we do have to fight this, otherwise it will start to break our healthcare systems. Unless we get education right and start to teach children how to eat, what to eat and when to eat, they will never grow up into normal-sized adults with healthy eating habits. But I think allied to that is a recognition that we already have a number of generations of people who just haven't got there and are overweight and seriously overweight, and they need medical help.
30-year-old Albert Kempster is a typical patient. He's been overeating since he was a teenager, and now he's reached bursting point. Albert lives on the south coast in Hampshire. He married his long-term girlfriend Darla in 2002, and 3 years ago they had a daughter Millie. Hauling a super morbidly obese body around after an energetic 3-year-old is practically impossible. Albert has been overweight since childhood, and the pounds continued to pile on all through his adolescence. But it was when he became an adult that his eating got out of control.
To be honest with you, I've been big all my life, even from a little kid. But, like, say 8 years ago, just completely blew out of proportion. And it's just went on from there, to be honest with you. Since I was like 22 or 3, things just got worse and worse and worse. And just, you know what I mean? Just unbelievable.
Albert admits his diet could not have been worse.
Mostly fried food. And bread, I used to eat bread with everything. Like, I could eat bread with a Sunday's dinner. It was terrible, honestly. It was horrible. Just couldn't stop it. When you're addicted to something, you're addicted to it, isn't it?
Food was on Albert's mind from the moment he woke up.
Get up in the morning, first thing I do before I go to work was straight away have a fried breakfast. From there, I would eat sausage rolls and pies and that all day, and run in and eat Burger Kings, all that crap, and then come home and have me tea, snacks in between, and to be honest with you, I can't believe what I used to eat.
Once addicted to food, Albert found it impossible to break the habit, and it was hard to make other people grasp the real depth of his problem.
It's addictive, and I know you can't explain to people who ain't addicted to food. It's like trying to tell a smoker or no, don't smoke. If you don't do it, you don't understand it, do you? But I was addicted to food.
Albert's surgeon at St Richard's Hospital is Chris Pring. Albert first came to see Chris 4 months ago when he was an enormous 40 stone. At that weight, Chris decided it was too dangerous to operate on Albert. Something needed to be done to reduce his weight rapidly.
Albert? Yeah, come on in, come down.
The solution was to insert a special balloon into Albert's stomach and inflate it to make him feel full all the time. Chris now needs to decide whether Albert is fit for surgery.
I believe you lost 5 stone.
5 stone, I mean.
So you're now 34 stone, and you feel different with it?
A lot better.
Do you?
Yeah.
What, more energy, or?
I've got a lot more energy. I don't sleep now.
Yeah.
Smack's not off for the daytime. It's literally brilliant.
You first came to the clinic in about May.
I was 39.5 stone.
39.5 stone, and your BMI was 70 then.
Yep.
And at that time,
we were trying to work out how best to get your weight down in the
Yeah.
safest possible way.
Right.
And the thought was that we'd do this gastric balloon.
Yeah.
So we put a balloon into your stomach. We're going to put some nasal specs into your nose that deliver oxygen. Put a blood pressure
Inserting the balloon is not a pleasant procedure.
finger.
And what made it worse for Albert was that he had to be awake throughout.
Then I'll give you something that makes you feel sedated. It's like having 10 pints of Guinness, it's quite good. And once you're nicely sedated and relaxed, I'll start putting the telescope down.
Yeah.
Good. All right, so you just bite on there, Albert. I'm going to give you a few Guinnesses now. This will just make you feel nice and drowsy.
Anaesthetising patients with a BMI over 35 is risky, and at this moment, Albert's BMI was 70. Chris first put a camera down Albert's throat to check there was a clear passage.
So I'm just going down his gullet now. Okay, Albert, this is just going to go down the back of your throat. You just swallow it down.
He then inserted the deflated balloon.
Big swallow again. Big swallow. That's perfect. Big swallow. Perfect, Albert. Perfect. Keep swallowing. Perfect, Albert. Let's have a little dazzle on. I'm just going to have a little look.
Finally, Chris used the camera to check that the balloon was in the right place.
Okay, so that's his balloon there in his stomach. Okay, nice.
The balloon was then filled with a saline solution to occupy half of Albert's stomach. It was a short-term answer to Albert's overeating, but meant a full gastric bypass operation might be possible within a few months.
That's it. You can just see the balloon filling up now. Nearly done, Albert. Nearly done, mate. We're going to be 2 minutes filling this balloon up.
Keep on biting on the green one, okay? Don't keep on biting on the green one. No, don't put
Albert,
it
Albert, don't do that just yet, mate. Bear with me.
You'll wreck everything.
Bear with me. Pull that out. We're coming out now, Albert. There we go. All done, Albert. Well done, mate. You did a brilliant job. Yeah, you've done all right. That wasn't easy. Albert weighs about 40 stone. He was about 250 odd kilograms. His BMI is 70, and he'll manage okay with the balloon. It's a bit like, it just makes you feel full. It's a bit like having had your Christmas dinner every day, you know, that really full feeling. And that's what he's going to feel like. But it'll make him eat less, he'll lose weight, and then he'll have a safer operation in about 4 to 6 months' time. Right, so that was stage one.
Yeah.
Right, so we're here to talk about stage two. So if I just move a couple of slides down for you.
Now Albert's 5 stone lighter, Chris thinks it's now safe enough for stage 2 of the surgery, the gastric bypass operation, to shrink his stomach to the size of an egg.
This operation, we put you to sleep.
Yeah.
Keyhole surgery, we cut across the stomach here,
Yeah.
give you this small stomach pouch. We then get the small bowel from down here, we bring it up to this stomach pouch and stitch it on.
Yeah.
So that food goes down your gullet, into your small stomach pouch, it then passes down the small bowel here, thereby the food bypasses this part of the stomach and small bowel, which we're
Yeah.
chewing on further down. And I expect you're going to lose 10 to 12 stone in the first year, more than what you've lost already. So I was just thinking 1 year, you know, by this time next year, you're going to be in a much healthier position than you are now.
That'd be great. After I had this balloon, I can't wait for the body bash to get it and get it done.
Really?
Honestly, because it feels so much better. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is, yeah, honestly. I'll do more with me, like my little girl now and everything.
Do you?
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah,
it'll be
already?
different.
Yeah, or just you wait.
Yeah, just can't wait to do it. So
Excellent.
Look forward to it.
All right, Albert. Well, I'm happy with all of that.
Yeah.
I think you've done really, really well.
Yeah.
We'll get the things sorted out for you.
Yeah.
So at 35 stone and a BMI of 63, Albert hopes that his gastric bypass operation will help him lose at least another 15 stone.
Albert. Cheers.
Just can't wait to get in and get it done, to be honest, and then just get on with it. So, get back to the gym, hopefully.
Albert will be back in Chichester in 2 months' time for his gastric bypass, and next year he can look forward to joining these 70 super slimmers at Shaw Summers and his team's annual reunion. They've all had obesity surgery. It may not be appropriate for everyone, but these patients have lost an incredible combined weight of 520 stone. And with most of these former patients having tiny egg-sized stomachs, the catering is miniature to match.
I'm 47 years old. I had a bypass in February 2010 and I've lost 14 stone 9 pounds. And I feel amazing because of it.
I was at my biggest 23 stone, but 20 stone on the day of my op, and I'm now 13.5 stone. Amazing. It's like being given a new lease of life, it really is.
I had my bypass the 29th of April 2010. I've now lost 21 stone and 12 pounds, and it's totally changed my life.
I had the operation on the 15th of April 2010 and I've lost almost 10 stone. I'm feeling absolutely amazing. Best thing I ever did.
That was Kim's streak 10 months ago. Today she's living in Guildford in Surrey, and already she's shaken off another 2 stone. Kim has now reached her target. Since her operation, she's lost an amazing 12.5 stone, more than half her body weight.
On the day of my surgery, I was 21 stone, and I'm now 9 stone 6 pounds. I'm able to do just so much more. Just really enjoying life now, and which I thought I was enjoying life beforehand, but I wasn't.
Kim had been obese throughout her early 20s, but the weight gain had started much earlier.
My weight started when I was about 10, and that's when the bullying started at school, and the nasty comments, and yeah, the bullying does make you extremely hurt and extremely sad, and you do tend to then go home and overeat, and instead of just a small snack after school, it would be a few sandwiches and crisps and biscuits and whatever you could find, instead of just the small healthy snack that all other kids would probably have. Once again, it was the whole comfort eating. Because I'm sad and I'm hurt, I'll stuff myself with food.
Kim moved to the UK from South Africa in 2003. She was just 22 years old, and it was meant to be the start of a brand new life, living and working in a pub.
My weight did go up while I was here. Working in a pub life, and living in a pub, you don't have access to your own kitchen. You work really weird hours. So you're eating on the run. You're eating all the bad food. Sometimes you're not eating at all because you're so busy.
2 years ago, Kim peaked at 21 stone. This was the biggest she'd ever been. Her dress size was 26.
I felt disgusted in myself when I was 21 stone. I looked in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw. Everybody was like, "Oh, you're so pretty," and I'm like, no. All I saw was the fat and the ugly. And yeah, it's not a nice thing to think and see. But then also you have this denial that you're not as big as you are. You think you're not as a 21 stone. You think you're smaller than that until you realise and you look back on those photographs and see exactly how big you actually were. I think I kind of knew quite early on that it was a problem, but I just didn't know how to solve it. The diets don't really teach you much. I tried everything: Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, Sure Slim, the cabbage soup diet, the cottage cheese diet, every single diet you can think of. I've even did the starvation, and nothing would work. When you fail at a diet or anything, it breaks your self-esteem. You have no self-esteem, no confidence. You feel like a failure. You feel like you haven't achieved. And especially when other people are losing the weight around you, it's disheartening. It breaks your heart.
Kim isn't alone. It's estimated that 1 in 100 people in the UK are currently on a diet. Health psychologist Dr. Amelia Hollywood sees many of these dieters in the bariatric clinic at St Richard's Hospital.
I think the term diet and dieting has quite a short time frame, and also very often diets are very unrealistic, they're very restrictive, and most people just can't stick to them. But also when you're on a diet, very often, suddenly food is the only thing you can think about. Suddenly, as soon as you can't have something, that's all you can think about, and it just consumes you. So dieting can be quite detrimental in terms of weight loss because it's just very unrealistic, and it's not something you can maintain in the long term.
Kim's endless diets hadn't worked, and not only was her waistline getting bigger and bigger, it was starting to affect her in other ways.
It was not easy to be that size. Health was deteriorating. I couldn't do basic chores. So I went to see the GP, and he said I'll either be dead in a few years or in a wheelchair in a few years. And I knew then that I needed help, and I knew I couldn't leave my family, to suffer on their own and to look after themselves or to look after me. So it's either life or death. And I chose life, and so I chose the bypass.
So weighing 21 stone and with a BMI of 48, Kim had a gastric bypass in 2010. The operation was performed at St Richard's Hospital by Chris Pring.
I first met Kim maybe a couple of years ago, and she was a young girl struggling with not only her weight and her confidence maybe that came with that, but health issues as well, joint pains, and she just wasn't as mobile as she was, and she's really embraced the new healthy lifestyle that she's got.
In Cambridge, Like Kim, Amanda Beer was warned her obesity was killing her. But since surgery, she's lost an amazing 20 stone. Finally, she has mobility and her independence back.
I had the gastric bypass in 2006. I was 44 stone and I've gone down to about 19 stone 7. I've lost quite a bit. I'm quite chuffed with that. I'm anxious to get to the scales to see how much I've lost every time I go to the doctors. So I'm anxious to see how far I can get to 10 stone. I want to get to 10 stone if I can.
5 years ago, that could only have been a dream. This was Amanda then, tipping the scales at 40 stone and with a staggering body mass index of 96. Doctors gave her just 5 years to live.
My weight is a real burden. No one knows what it's like to be like that unless you're this size. I'm down as far as I can go at the moment. Really depressed I am. I hate myself. I hate myself a lot.
Back then, Amanda needed round-the-clock care, help with cooking, washing, and even going to the toilet.
She might put it in the wash. No, she said she didn't. She said she was not in a hurry.
Her 17-year-old son Simon was her chief carer. He also suffered from obesity, but he'd been looking after his mum since he was 10 years old.
No, you can do that in a little while if you like.
Okay. Dusted?
Well, yeah, the ornaments could do with a bit.
Okay.
What I do around the house and do for my mum is I do the housework, which is like washing up, hoovering, cleaning, go to the shops.
For 2 years, Amanda had been unable to walk up the stairs. A lift was installed in the house, but she couldn't use it because she was now too heavy.
This is the lift that was put in so that I could keep an eye on the children, because I can't climb the stairs. But since the weight's gone up, I've not been able to get on it because I'm too heavy. I went over the limit. It goes up to 35 stone. Oh dear. So that goes all the way up to my youngest daughter's bedroom.
So Amanda had to live downstairs, and her ex-husband Vincent would come round to wash her, sometimes several times a day.
Bowl of water, darling, yeah? Oh, I do get worried about the children helping because it's not very dignifying for Mandy.
Vincent washes me at least twice a day, 3 times a day, if need be. As you get sweaty being big. It doesn't sort of bother me in washing me, not like it would an outsider. I'd feel really embarrassed.
Amanda was desperate, but help was on its way. She was offered obesity surgery at St. Richard's, 100 miles away. So weighing 40 stone and with a BMI of 96, she would finally get her gastric bypass operation. Being supermorbidly obese, the risks of surgery were significant, and Amanda was well aware of this. She'd written letters to the family just in case.
One's to my children and my parents, and to Vincent. Little words that I loved them and thank you for them being patient with me and that. So I'm just grateful for everyone that's been about for me.
As Amanda left for the hospital, her mum Georgina made sure her daughter got into the ambulance safely. For the journey to St. Richard's, Amanda needed a special bariatric ambulance designed to take her weight. Ironically, this journey to hospital was an all too rare occasion that Amanda left her house. With doctors giving Amanda only 5 years to live, the operation Shaw was about to perform would not only change her life, but save her life.
If you look at people with a body mass index over 80, their life expectancy is measured in about 5 to 7 years, and that's it. On average, they die pretty quickly. Now is the right time to do the operation for her.
Amanda's operation was open surgery. At the time, it was the way most bariatric procedures were performed.
Okay, just past the point of no return.
5 years later and 20 stone lighter, Amanda can now take pride in her appearance.
I'm not ashamed of how I am now, whereas I was before. I couldn't bear to look at myself. I feel a lot more feminine than I did. I just thought I existed before. I was just something planted in the corner, and someone talked to me if they thought they would. If they didn't, then I just sat there. I feel a lot happy about my body now as it's shrinking. There are worries about when I go swimming with the children, because everything's just hanging, and I do get some remarks. It's mainly children, and they don't understand. So, but other than that, I feel a lot comfortable with my body than I did do.
And Amanda is now no longer confined to the ground floor of her home.
Now I can climb the stairs. I can go up and shower myself now. Someone sometimes has to come and help me dry my legs because I still find it hard to bend. But other than that, I've got my freedom back.
Amanda used to have her food prepared for her by her son. He waited on her for years, but now that's all changed. Simon no longer needs to be her carer, so he can now live his own life and reclaim back his lost youth.
I didn't like leaving Mum. I don't mind so much now because I know she can do stuff on her own. But before, I didn't like leaving her on her own because I didn't know if she'd need me or if she could never fall or anything.
My relationship with my son Simon is that he can now go out and pursue a life of his own. He's got himself a girlfriend and he goes out clubbing Friday nights.
Friday night, party time, time to get ready.
Simon is also tackling his own obesity. He's recently lost an impressive 5 stone, which makes pulling those moves on the dance floor easier.
But I do like dancing. I like my music and I like dancing, and I've actually got something to live for with the girlfriend, and I've lost all the weight, and we're all starting to do stuff, and because Mum's lost the weight, we're all starting to go out a lot more now, and it's just nice to do that as a family.
Like most 23-year-olds, Simon likes to make himself look good for his big night out.
I've always made myself look smart anywhere I go, even to the shops.
Before I had my operation, Simon had to be here 24/7 for me. It was embarrassing, but now things are a lot better. He can now do his own thing, and he's always at the end of the telephone if I need him, so he's got his life back.
I'm very proud of my mum. It takes a lot of guts to do what she's done, and I loved her how she was, and I love her how she is now anyway, so.
And her mum Georgina is proud of her as well.
Seeing her be able to walk up mine is one of the things I love, because she couldn't get out. She was housebound before she had her operation, but now things seem to be getting better.
If I hadn't had the operation about 5 years ago, I don't think I'd be here now. I'm just got to thank my lucky stars that I'm here and that I'm here for my family. I'm thankful for what I got. I don't need to turn to food anymore. I just think about what I can do the next day and the next day, and I just set myself goals to do. I've lost nearly 25 stone and I'm really happy.
Food is now fuel rather than comfort for Amanda, and she seems to be beating her obesity. But for many, it's still a daily battle. Dietitian Denise Thomas is at the front line of our escalating obesity problem in the UK.
The reasons for obesity and being overweight are quite complex. It's no one reason, it is multifactorial. If you look at the way the population has increased over the last 20 to 30 years, we are a lot more sedentary than we ever were, and our diets have altered in as much as we eat out of the home a lot more frequently, and we eat fast food, takeaway food, and so our diets have subtly changed.
And the average fast food contains 1.5 times more calories than the average home-cooked meal. This is not good news in the quest to fight the flab. It's an early morning in Chichester. At St Richard's Hospital, Albert Kempster is starting a journey that will change the way he eats forever. He's on his way to the operating theatre with wife Darla.
Morning. Albert, welcome. How you doing?
Anaesthetist Phil MacDonald has the job of putting 35-stone Albert to sleep.
She's helping me out today. She's ready to start. And we're going to get you up on here and get you all sorted out.
Today, Albert is not only having a gastric bypass operation to shrink his stomach, he'll need to have that gastric balloon, which has filled half of his stomach for the last 6 months, removed.
Right, now if we can shuffle you down that way a little bit, we'd like you to do all the movement for us. You know, we probably need another pillow under there if we had one. Oh, you're wonderful. Avril, you're a star. Thank you very much. Bit of a scratch coming. Here we go. Okay. Right. You'll be absolutely fine, don't you worry. We'll be... How old?
Something? What's she into at the moment?
Everything.
Really?
I'm just worried it can rain now.
You what?
He's worried he won't come round.
You will come round. That's why we're here. You will. I promise you.
May as well see what it is.
There you go, that's your blood pressure going blip, blip, blip along there, okay? It's a little bit high, as we'd expect on a day like this.
When I first met Albert, he was about sort of 40 stone, BMI 70. He's now come down to 33.5 stone. So he's lost, which is BMI nearly just above 60. So he's done really well with his balloon, you know. He's lost 6 stone in weight. And I'm hoping that's going to make this operation a bit easier. He showed me a little picture of his daughter, Millie, just before he came round to theatre. And he's doing it for her, you know. Like a lot of our patients, I see them in the clinic, and the motivating factor is, you know, they want to get healthier for their family or for their children or their grandchildren. Of course, that's entirely understandable. So he showed me this picture of Millie, so I've got this picture of Millie in my head.
Albert's still feeling anxious. He's asked Phil not to tell him when he's about to go under.
When you put that needle to come in sleep, just don't say it, or we'll be fighting against to go against it.
It's all right, don't worry. Get some oxygen on board. There we go. But you're not going to sleep quite yet. Because what we need to do is get as much oxygen into your lungs as possible before you go off to sleep, all right?
You can't be there, Albert.
Right, we kept to his wishes and didn't tell him when he was going off to sleep, so I think he'd be quite happy with that.
For the last 2 weeks, Albert has been on a milk-only diet in preparation for his surgery today. So his stomach should be empty of solid food and his liver shrunken. But Phil finds a nasty surprise.
That looks like very recent carrot coming up there. Now, that's a real classic, isn't it? Because if you see someone being sick, they always bring carrot up. I think carrot gets stuck in the stomach somehow. Having said that, he's got a balloon in, remember? So he's got a balloon in, so anything he takes has probably got stuck there. A small man trying to get out.
Chris is feeling Albert's abdomen to find the best position to insert the 5 ports, which will carry the instruments to perform Albert's operation. With the first incision made, the camera goes inside.
So I've put all these trocars through his abdominal wall. So this is Albert's stomach, and you can see how blown up and distended it is. That's because that's the balloon there that we put in about 6 months ago. We're going to take that out shortly. What it's difficult to convey, really, with someone doing an operation like this is the amount of torque that's going on through my hands in manoeuvring these instruments. There's quite a lot of pressure from the abdominal wall. I haven't quite gone through there. So that's his colon there, and I've created a gutter along it here, divided all the fat so that the small bowel can come over the top. What I've got to do now is find the start of the small bowel. It's called the duodenal jejunal flexure, the DJ flexure. Okay, that's the start of the small bowel there, so I'm happy with that. So I'm measuring out his small bowel. Again, this is all standard stuff. And I use this tape as a measure, as a ruler, basically. Okay, so I'm going to start to divide the small bowel. Well, Albert's a challenge because, interestingly, well, anaesthetically, Phil here was saying he's been a challenge.
Yes, we did. We got a bit of a surprise, actually, putting the tube into his lungs, because normally these patients, they don't normally have what we call reflux, where food comes into their throat. But then we put a stomach tube down, and we found, actually, there was quite a lot of residue leftover food in his stomach. And we think that's probably because he's had the balloon in, which has actually caused quite a lot of his stomach from not emptying, which we were slightly surprised at. Fortunately, none of it actually came up and went down onto his lungs, which would have been a bit of a catastrophe for Albert. But we were slightly surprised on that, because we thought he was fully fasted, but I've got to be honest with you. I've got to be honest with you. They look distinctly like carrots, which were coming up off his stomach.
Maybe Albert had one last meal, which he's entitled to.
Yeah.
I'm about 15% of the way through this operation, and already my hands are hurting, my forearms, because, you know, there's a lot of pressure on these instruments, and you'll probably feel it with a camera, James, don't you? Just holding the camera, you can feel that the resistance we're working against is significant, really. So
in all fairness, Chris, I haven't seen you down the gym recently.
No, it's because I'm in this bloody theatre all the time. So I'm going to join these two bits of bowel together here, and hopefully at the end of this operation I'll have better triceps. You know, at Albert's weight, we know that his lifespan is going to be shortened by 8 to 10 years. And as he very honestly said to me in the clinic, he's got a young daughter, Millie. He wants to be around, he wants to play with her. He can't play with her like he does. He doesn't feel as healthy as he wants to be. So Albert has decided that he needs to lose some weight. I'm right in here, and you can see how long that instrument is. So I'm reaching right over here, and even that isn't long enough. It's because he's got such a thick abdominal wall, you see. So I'm having to push right in. Just come in here, James.
Albert is supermorbidly obese, which presents special challenges to anaesthetist Phil. But he's also worked in the developing world with patients who are severely malnourished. The irony isn't lost on him.
It doesn't make it any less important for people like Albert. They've got as equally a bad a problem. They've been rejected by society in the same way that society has let down people in Ethiopia. So it's quite interesting for me operating and anaesthetising people who are so enormous, and then going and anaesthetising people who are so tiny as well. So it's quite an interesting contrast, but both patients are just as needy at both ends of the scale.
Okay, let's just put the hook in. So there's Albert's balloon here within his stomach, so I'm going to take that out. The other thing I note, which is really heartening, is that his liver's actually not too bad. He's not got much fat deposition in his liver, and it's not one of these big, thick, heavy livers that we see. So fair play to you, Albert. You've done your diet well, and I'm pleased about that.
So Albert gets full marks on his liver, despite his last supper. Chris now needs to remove the balloon, which has occupied half of Albert's stomach for the last 6 months.
So there's his balloon, this thing here. And I'm going to just ask James to put the sucker, because this is all full of saline, which we dyed blue. I sort of don't want the blue going everywhere, but I think I'm just going to have to accept that it will. Here, and if you just take a graph.
This 500 millilitres of saline, which was inside Albert's balloon, must be emptied before the balloon can be retrieved.
Oops, there we go, that's his breakfast. Whatever he had last night for his last supper. So here's his balloon. Well done, Albert. That's done you well. There we go. Oh dear, no one wants to see that. Let's just have a sucker.
Sweet corn and carrot. Well, at least he's on a vegetarian diet. I mean, you know, five a day.
So I'm just closing the stomach hole that I made to get his balloon out. I'm using a nifty little stapling device.
With the balloon safely deflated, it's now out of Albert's stomach. Chris can continue with the next stage of the operation and make the small stomach pouch using a series of staples.
Right.
This new smaller stomach, combined with his shortened intestine, means less of the food Albert consumes will be absorbed. It will also reduce the production of the hormone that makes us feel hungry.
So I'm just going to do the final division of his stomach. So this is Albert's old stomach here. This staple line here is where I took the balloon out from. Big stomach here, and this is his new stomach, this small little thing. There it is, the size of an egg cup, if that. And that'll be Albert's stomach for the rest of his life, and that will keep his weight off and make him healthy. Right, so we've reached the end of the operation, and I've just got to retrieve this balloon.
Chris can now remove that balloon by widening a hole in the abdomen left from one of the ports he created for his instruments.
There we go, that's his balloon. Okay, that's the end of that then. Well done, Albert. Well done, everyone. So, here's the balloon then.
After surgery, Albert can expect to lose about 50% of his body weight.
And he'll lose a good 20-odd stone, will Albert? And he'll be able to play with his daughter, he'll be happy. I'm happy.
Hopefully he should wake up fairly quickly. Go on, Albert. Nice deep breath. The operation's all over. All right. Operation's all over. You've done really, really well. And Mr. Pring's very pleased with the way it's gone. Albert, can you open your eyes for us, please? Okay. Oh, that's great. It's gone really, really well. Okay, that's great. You can give a squeeze on the back if you feel. Come out. Yeah. Okay. Just wait. There we go. All right there, Albert. Nice big cough. Cough it out. Well done. That's really good. Okay. Perfect. There we go. Operation's all over. There we are. Just have the face mask on. Should be right straight on with the that mascara will be great. There we are. Looking after yourself again, Albert. It's all done. Well done. The operation's gone really, really well. I'm sure Millie will be really pleased to see you when she comes to see you tonight, hopefully. Open your eyes for me. There we go. Well done. Right, let's go around to the recovery area. That's great.
Albert heads off to the recovery unit, and he can expect to be home with Darla and Millie in a few days.
Just try and relax a little bit. We're just going to the recovery.
Back in Guildford, Kim Streak can celebrate her dramatic weight loss since surgery 2 years ago. In that time, she shrunk from a size 26 to a super skinny size 10.
These are my old jeans before the surgery, and I can even get 2 legs into one leg now.
So Kim can now fit in one leg of her old jeans, a great measure of how far she's come.
I can wear my pretty clothes now, and I can feel like a lady. I can wear the nice dresses and the heels and the nice clothes, and make myself feel good and confident.
But how is Kim adjusting to her size?
It's a psychological thing that you have to adjust to, and I'm sure one day I will, realise that I am this person and this is how I'm going to be, and I'm not going to change. But yeah, your head doesn't catch up as fast as your body loses the weight. So it's just a matter of now adjusting to it and getting used to it, really, and enjoying the new size and the new shapes.
And her surgeon Chris is extremely proud of Kim's success.
She recently did a half marathon, and if we'd mentioned that to Kim 2 years ago, a half marathon, she'd have passed out at the thought of it.
It was a pipe dream to run a half marathon for me. It was one of those things that, oh yes, I would love to do that in my dreams type thing. But once I started losing the weight and I realised, oh, I'm getting fitter, I knew I could do it. And I just had to train really hard to do it and get to that goal for me. And once I completed that half marathon, I knew I'd achieved something.
I think losing the weight has enabled her to fulfil her ambitions, and it's enabled her to embrace the sort of the healthy life that she wants. So she is a different person to the person she was 2 years ago. She's been an absolute inspiration, really, of what can be achieved.
Kim is still training and hopes to run a marathon next year.
I'm 100% happier now. Yes, everybody has their down days, everybody has their sad days, but now it's more me being almost free of that excess weight and free of that burden on my shoulders. So yeah, I'm much happier now, and I'm a smilier person, hopefully.
Spring has sprung in sunny Hampshire, and it's celebration time for Albert, his wife Darla, and daughter Millie. Just 6 weeks ago, Albert had his gastric bypass, And with a spring in his step, Albert is enjoying his new lighter load.
There I lost 5 stone 1 pound. So with the balloon and the bypass, I lost 10 stone 1 altogether. But it's made a big difference, and I'm very happy now. It's made my life change for the better, thank God.
Today is a rare day out for the family. At Manor Park Farm, it's feeding time for the animals. And time for Albert to look back on how overeating was ruining his life.
I was addicted to eating. Everything you say you want to eat, it ain't doing your organs no good, is it? I've always been a big all for me life. I could tell the difference in the last 3 years to when my health was like fading, you know what I mean? And I couldn't walk so good as I used to. And I was always up and down and round, even though I was big, but I could not do so much. The last 3 years, I'm real bad, you know?
Albert is no stranger to farm life. He himself grew up with animals.
Oh, Millie, look at the baby lamb. Oh, Millie. Week old. Oh. Oh, Millie. Is that nice?
And already with his newfound energy, Albert is able to participate more wholeheartedly in family life.
Because I never used to spend a lot of time with Millie. When I used to come home from work, I used to be too tired to do anything. But like now it'll come back and we like play and stuff, take her to the park. It's a lot different since I've had it done.
Mummy, you want to catch one?
To be honest with you, Dallas said she ain't worried about it. She was worried about it, and obviously just everything really. We both happier, but it's a big difference.
Darla is also enjoying the new freedom Albert's weight loss has given the family.
Yeah, I'm able to do a lot more now. It's better for all of us.
Albert's really happy with his progress so far, but 3-year-old Millie isn't quite so sure.
You're not making me feel good, Mill.
Is Daddy's belly getting better now? Yeah. It was poorly, wasn't it? It's better now, though.
It ain't going for.
We're going out in the sunshine.
What is this? Chicken.
No,
not quite a chicken. It's a duckling. Think they might come out of an egg.
Look, little duck's being born, look.
Can you see?
Isn't that nice, Millie? What a thing about you, Millie.
I'll give the bucket a rattle.
So does Albert think it was all worth it?
Yeah, I've tried different diets. That was the only way forward for me, is what I had done, to be honest. If I had it to do again, I would do it all over again to get back where I was. Mr. Pring was quite good as well, so.
This was Albert just 6 months ago, when he was an enormous 40 stone. He's already lost an impressive 10 stone, but his target is to lose another 12 stone in the next 8 months.
I'd like to get down to like 18 stone, that's what I'd like to get down to with my target. But by Christmas time, I'm trying to lose another like 8 to 10 stone. I know it seems a bit impossible, but it did come off easy.
So it will be a much smaller Christmas turkey dinner for Albert this year. Bariatric surgery has changed Albert's life forever. But as we continue to overeat as a nation, our waistband will be expanding, and the time bomb of obesity erupts around the world.
I think the situation's arisen largely because society has evolved faster than our bodies have to cope with it. The way we eat, the way we live, the way we develop the industry of food means that everything is geared towards consumption, and we've forgotten really how our bodies work and what our bodies really need to get by day to day. There will be a tablet in the future that does the job for us, but until that time, we're going to have to continue to help those people who've really got trapped with excess weight.
Until we beat our insatiable desire for food, we'll continue to pile on the pounds. And for those who feel it's the only way forward, surgeons will be stapling stomachs in an effort to halt the rising tide of obesity.